There are many people who say they want to return to nature. Many people, environmentalists, they say, I care about nature and the environment and the animals and the trees and all these things. And there are people who talk about natural food and natural health. But all these groups of people, although they may be well-intentioned, they all have a deep care for nature, one way or another. And a lot of people do, even if they aren't actively going out of their way to support it and try to do everything for it. I mean, people will go outside for fresh air, they'll go outside to take a walk, and that counts, going out to the beach for vacation. And so they don't say necessarily they love nature and write poems and everything like I do or other people do, aren't being like that activist who's cleaning up the streets and a bunch of other things, but they still care about nature. The problem is all these groups of people, whether they put a lot of care into it or not, are not realizing the core essential idea that I talk about, nature is the answer, and what that means. Because what I'm saying is that there's an authority in nature, and that is being completely undermined when people believe in government, and they believe in man-made control and artificial intelligence taking over natural intelligence. Now, I'm not against artificial intelligence, I'm not against our man-made creations. I'm saying that we need to know when they become dangerous, because if we aren't able to see beyond them, we accept it as our reality, we accept it, and it becomes our illusion of reality. We accept the illusion as reality. And because of that, we live a lie, we live dishonesty, and we therefore create chaos in our ignorance, because we don't see the true reality beyond what we think we see. So it's about getting really clear on what we actually want and what we actually know and what we actually need in this society. So let's return to nature by letting go of our man-made control. Let's get into it. Was there a need for a philosophy? Was there a need for a book? Was there a need for systems other than that of play? It would seem apparent to many that there needs to be those systems of which add onto our nature, or that of which are told to perfect our nature. Yet this fix or addition or perfection has been a mere dream. The fix creates a problem, the perfection is mere illusion, and the addition is just a derivative like a branch part of a greater tree. Encompassing the nature of a tree, branches naturally come about without effort. There already exists a philosophy, and it's called living. There already exists a book, and it's called your senses. And there is always room for play. It is what we knew since a child, since it is in every being's heart, with the playground being the world of nature. If this were apparent, it is much so of no mention, but also just as much as the former would be of no mention. One of any mentioned, in any case, would insinuate there's still mystery to be done. Nonetheless, it is that which is mentioned which may be toyed with on its own, for the benefit of what may then be unmentioned. In other words, the serious matters become no more serious. The world of rivalry becomes a world of friends who mutually compete for fun. Without the arc of nature, man has no dwelling. They lose a sense of self. The sense, being the real book, is where one learns. It is where one feels. It is where one comprehends who they really are. They sense the world of play which lets them do this and keeps them doing this, hence naturally forming the philosophy. This philosophy contributes to the creations forming new, quote-unquote new, trees still owe allegiance to other trees in the world at whole, for in claiming superiority they uproot or diminish themselves. We ought not judge branches if we know the tree. As it is, the branches are also the tree. In other words, creations cannot persist without the creators. Thus, one cannot expect branches to persist without that which holds the branches. It is how I knew that Taoism, for instance, in ancient Chinese philosophy, was truly a study of nature, for it saw the human subjective bias. It saw the problems with all things man-made without having to call them problems merely as so, because the best judgment we have is sticking with what we fundamentally know, the most basic, which brings us into Wu Wei, what they call non-action. So in not taking risk or extreme or unnecessary action, Wu Wei brings us to nature because we let go of the very thing which attempts to differentiate us from nature. Hence, the natural can become natural. Thank you very much for watching. This might be a little confusing to you because I write poetically, but all I'm saying here is that if you recognize you have a foundation, that is the earth, that is nature around you, and that brought you into being, then you will respect it and you will see it beyond the creations that you create, beyond the life that you live or your egoic, simple individual self. You will see other people within that reality. You will see the whole environment. You will see things more holistically, and you will see things past the altered state, the carved block. You will seek the uncarved block, the original pure slate, the beginner's mind. You will start asking questions, and you'll get really curious about the world and the nature of what we call society and what we call government and what we call necessary evil. Why do we call it evil at the same time as call it necessary? And what if these systems, which are failing us time and time again, there's actually a much better solution that we don't talk about, that we don't understand enough about, that we never gave ourselves the time of day to look into because we got so wrapped in our illusion, because we got so propagandized into that illusion since a very young age. I am talking about statism, that which creates the state, that of which creates the government. I'm going to put some questions on the screen for you. I want you to think about it. Okay, and if you're unable to think about it, well, here's a quote from Lao Tzu, who wrote the Tao Te Ching, the founder of the Taoist philosophy, which he did not intend to create. It happened on its own because he spoke many words of wisdom. He says, "Do you have the patience to wait until your mud settles and the water is clear? Can you remain unmoving until the right action arises by itself?" People think they have to always be doing something, that they need to be distracted, and they can't simply do nothing or sit still and let things play out. They think they need to pass new laws, put new politicians in office, and that will change things for the better, but never is considered the action letting go and doing less. It's always doing more. Give me more money. We gotta do this. We gotta do that. And maybe it's counterintuitive. Maybe that's not actually the solution. So if you're a nature-seeking person out there, you need to perhaps address this mindset called statism, which directly challenges and brings at a compromise that very authority of nature that you care about, and puts it on its head and says, well, man can rule over the earth and do anything it wants. It can claim ownership over the property of you, your child, through, registry of birth. It can, claim ownership over your business and tax you and tax everybody in your whole family and your whole neighborhood. And it can take your land. It can take anything from you at any moment. This is man trying to be God, trying to be nature itself. And if we do not recognize that, I don't care if you say that you care about nature, because you don't. You don't recognize its authority. You're putting man's authority above it, and you're putting artificial intelligence above natural intelligence. Where do you expect the natural intelligence to go? Where do you expect nature to go? It's just going to keep dwelling into its ignorant chaos. And that's your fault, because these are man-made problems, so they can easily be solved, man-made solutions. Which, the solutions, again, is just letting go, because we create the problem so we can destroy it. Man-made solutions. If they're a solution, it's quite natural because it works with what we were given. It works with the world that we inherited. You didn't create the world. You weren't here. You don't know how everything works and how everybody's lives should be managed, but yet we think we should do so through law and government. We're insane. Who are we to think that? All these ancient teachings talking about humility and the golden rule, and yet we're breaking it the next moment? And yet that's no concern to the person who cares about nature? I think that's crazy. Just read, Edmund Burke and his writings on a natural society. And, it talks a lot about this concept too. Read my book, Government is Unnatural, Anarchy is Natural, if you truly have an open mind. I also did a video series on it. And if you want, send us your article, I'll turn it into a video for you. Go to theliberator.us. That's theliberator.us. Thank you for watching.